Hello again, and welcome to Story Time with Nana Lynn and Glow. I'm Nana Lynn, and Glow has gone on to bed. She has had a couple of rough days with cold and whatnot, and we've had some COVID testing going on, so we're under quarantine right now, but that's okay. We'll get through. We're just under quarantine until our tests come back and we see if we're positive or negative, and I think we're probably negative, but that's what we're hoping for. Anyway, on to our story, Another's Treasure, and it's by Nancy Mehl, M-E-H-L. So we're going to start with chapter 21, and here we go. As she continued to ponder all the possibilities, Elizabeth realized that her mind had wandered and she forgot to refocus. Warren Smucker thought he had me, Uriah was saying, but I outfoxed him and all the Smuckers. Anita will never get this sword back. I understand how you feel, Elizabeth said, but Anita really needs... He waved a hand at her. I'm not going to debate this with you. The sword is mine. I bought it fair and square, and I won't give it back, period. Rather than wrangle with him, Elizabeth decided to take a different tack. Will you let me take some pictures and do research for you? I've done some already and haven't found anything that proves the sword belongs to Jackson. But I have some sources that you don't. Actually, people who handle Civil War mementos. She was telling the truth. Back before her mother took ill and they had to close second-hand blessings, the two of them had found online research insufficient in many cases and had placed calls to several experts in antiques. She was thinking about a man in Georgia who handled pieces from the Civil War, and a friendly appraiser in California had given Elizabeth her name and phone number in case she ever needed her help. They'd never found a reason to contact her. Until now. I guess you can take some pictures, but as I said, you tell me what you find, not Anita. Elizabeth turned this request over in her head. Could she do what he asked? If the sword didn't belong to Anita anymore, was Elizabeth bound to share the information with her? Are you having a hard time agreeing to my request? Uriah asked finally, his face screwed up in a tight scowl. Elizabeth took a deep breath. I am. I want to say yes, but I'm not sure I can. She paused for a second or two. What if I promise to tell you first? Since Anita sent me to try to buy the sword back, I don't think I can lie to her about its value if I discover something important that affects its worth. If I can't find anything, I won't bring up my search. But if I do... Uriah shrugged. If you find out that the sword belonged to Jackson, you must tell me first. You can share it with Anita Smucker after that. Just give me a week to decide what to do. I might put it up for auction. Elizabeth was surprised by his change of tune, but it didn't take long to find out why he'd done an about-face. Let her know what she missed out on. That won't bother me at all. But I thought you wanted to keep the sword in the family. Why would you sell it? Uriah's expression hardened even more, because if it goes to auction, everyone will hear the truth about what happened. About Noah Barnhart's bravery. The Smuckers will never be able to throw stones at him again. Although Elizabeth wasn't certain about that, she felt it was best to leave it well enough alone at this point. She at least would be able to tell Anita the truth. All right, I'll do as you ask. Uriah got to his feet. Follow me. I'll show you the sword. She followed him to the adjoining room where the sword lay on the buffet. The rest of the room seemed to be used for storage. There were many fine pieces of furniture pushed against the walls. Probably some valuable antiques. She could only guess what the room had once been used as, study or library. Bookshelves lined two of the walls, and a massive desk sat in a corner. Over the years, it seemed other belongings had been relegated to the room. It was packed with all kinds of junk. Too bad. The room was charming with its tall windows, oak wainscoting, and crown molding. Although she'd seen the sword before, this time Elizabeth looked at it more closely. It was obviously old, and even though it wasn't in pristine condition, she would say it was in pretty good shape. This was one of Jackson's extra swords, Uriah said. He had another he carried with him. When he died, they found that sword rusted because he rarely used it. He shrugged. Maybe he used this one more. I have no idea. Uriah lifted the sword and held it up so Elizabeth could take pictures. The hilt was intricate, a carved eagle holding something in his talons. But when she looked closer, they seemed more like arrows than thunderbolts. Had Warren made a mistake in his riddle? After a few more pictures, Elizabeth thanked Uriah for seeing her and promised to get back to him. When she left, she almost closed the front door, but at the last second, she remembered to leave it open. Then she nearly tripped over a couple of bottles of milk right in front of the door and came close to putting her foot through a hole in the porch. She had to watch her step to make it off the porch safely. Visiting Uriah could be dangerous in more ways than one. On the way home, she couldn't help pondering the arrows. Had they been wrong about the sword? Was it possible it wasn't the valuable piece that they were looking for? She'd gone from believing positive that she'd solved the riddle to confusion. She couldn't throw out all of the rest of the evidence pointing to it, but the arrows bothered her. They weren't thunderbolts, and that was pretty easy to see. Maybe Warren had bad eyesight. She'd check on that, but still, she felt he would have known the difference. Elizabeth had one more stop to make before going home. Her old purse was falling apart. Even though she didn't fuss much with purses, she wanted something nice to carry on her date with John. She drove to Hickory Acres Crafts to buy a new bag. They sold the Amish-made cloth bags she loved so much. It only took her a few minutes to settle on a lovely dark blue bag with a small pattern. She liked the more colorful bags, but she felt the need for something a little more understated with John. After she left the shop, she started to turn onto the road that led back to the Classen farm. But at the last second, she turned the other way, down North Ronks Road. Dottie Spencer ran a beauty shop out of her home. She'd taken care of Elizabeth's hair for several years. Dottie had encouraged her to try a more modern cut for some time. Dottie also wanted to color her hair. "Your hair is so nice," she'd say to Elizabeth, "but you don't do anything with it. A cute cut and style would really change the way you look." Each time Elizabeth had asked her just to cut the hair so it would stay off of her shoulders. She pulled up to Dottie, certain that this was a bad idea, since Dottie had only one chair and required appointments, but Elizabeth couldn't stop herself from getting out of the car and knocking on the door. When Dottie answered, she looked surprised. "I know you're probably busy," Elizabeth said, feeling frustrated and foolish, "but I was thinking about what you said, about my hair and—" Dottie's sculpted eyebrows shot up and she smiled, her green eyes sparkling. "So today's the day. You're ready to take a chance." She swung the door open, her curly red hair bouncing as if it were as excited as its owner. "I don't have anyone today. We have plenty of time." Just for a moment, Elizabeth almost backed out. But instead, she squared her shoulders and walked inside. "Yes, I'm ready. Let's do it." Next time, we'll start with Chapter 22. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.